DGZ Requiem here. We are on the play playing Shadow Faeries. So this is kind of like the ideal draw. Turn 1 Thoughtseize, allowing us to play our turn 2 Bitter Blossom, and then a couple Spellstutter Sprites to just buy time. So this is like a easy keep for a Death Shadow. Non-Tarmogoyf hand. This is kind of like the nuts from the fairy side of things. Sweet. So this is Dredge. This is actually going to be a terrible matchup. It's a terrible matchup for the fast version of Jund Shadow, let alone this version. So we're 100% taking Cathartic Reunion. By taking that, if he doesn't draw any other discard effect, he's basically stuck with a bunch of creatures that can't do much of anything. I mean, Golgari Thug and Stinkweed can be cast, but he wants them in the graveyard, so. And if he does get him going Bitter Blossom, it's going to be a little weaker. Counter Magic's going to be weaker here because he's not actually casting anything. So we actually, unfortunately, need to run out another shock here, which is going to put us on a super fast clock. We're really hoping to get one more turn here for Spellstutter to start being useful. And he's actually just holding cards. He didn't even play a land, if you noticed. He's wanting to just discard one of his dredgers. Though he decides he has to play a land here, probably because he drew a Faithless Looting. So we're in trouble. If that could have waited one more turn, we could have caught it with a stutter. The one plus side that we have going on here is we have a Fatal Push. It's not much, but he's probably going to do a little bit of damage to himself as well. Pretty weak draw. Oh, Conflagrate's going to be so bad. Although when it gets flashback, it's 2C. It's actually 1 CMC. And so Spellstutter can get that. So right now it looks like we're going to be seeing Narcomoeba, Bloodghast, and Prized Amalgam all coming back. Oh my gosh, he hit them all. This is just a brutal beatdown. We can't even Fatal Push the Amalgam this turn. Ain't that a beaut? just so completely and utterly dead. I almost just want to concede here. Trade off the Bloodghast, he's just gonna... I mean, I'm sure he's gonna go for the Conflagrate, which Spellstutter will be able to counter, but... I mean, he probably isn't gonna do that till after combat. He's gonna go for it right now. Discard your hold hand. What just happened? Can that not be countered? It should have Flashback XX. Did I choose not to counter it somehow? I think that's a defect. Counter target spell with converted mana cost X or less, where X is the number of fairies I control. And I controlled 4 fairies. Conflagrate was cast as a 1 CMC spell. I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this. Alright. So I'm looking this up right now. That should have been cast for 1 CMC. Oh, okay, so actually the ruling is, while Conflagrate is on the stack, its mana cost will reflect the value chosen for X, even if it was cast with Flashback and no mana was spent on X. So basically, the Spellstutter sprites are garbage. So we're actually going to probably pull all of these. They don't really play well here. We're definitely going to bring in all 3 surgical extractions. We're definitely bringing in Maelstrom Pulse, probably Snapcaster Mage, and I guess we still need Liliana's. Stubborn Denial might be decent. I think we really probably almost want Fulminator though. No, we want these Collective Brutalities that are hiding at the bottom. And Abrupt Decay, and we're going to pull the Lilies. We don't want Lily of the Veil, we want Lily of the Last Hope. And see, the worst part of this though is we also really don't want all these Inquisitions and whatnot. So I think we can cut some of these. Definitely bring in Fulminators. I guess we'll bring in Stubborn Denial and one more Liliana. I'm really looking for Surgical Extraction in the opening hand, so this is perfect. We'll keep this. So what we're doing here, we're just trying to determine if we're going to get another land. Because we're not, we're just going to play a swamp here, and the plan is going to be to cycle with Architect's Will. So Surgical Extraction is going to be going after the prized amalgams first, Bloodghast second. May have to consider cutting the Vengeful Pharaoh at some point here. He did not play a land. If we end up putting Vengeful Pharaoh on the top by sacrificing the Tarmogoyf, he's going to have it on top of his library again. And so that holds him off that land drop again. He gets a Narcomoeba, which, whatever, we don't really care about. So knowing he's missing another land here, we very well may get the Vengeful Pharaoh with the Surgical Extraction. Our opponent definitely has better draws. So whenever combat damage is dealt to you or a planeswalker you control. Since we're going to target this at the Vengeful Pharaoh, oh, that's his only Vengeful Pharaoh too. The odds. Did he bring in any removal? No, he's running the Scourge Devil approach. Karth times 3, Narc, Thug, Amalgam, Stink. And then we have Stubborn Denial. Even if he draws a land, Stubborn Denial is going to counter his spell. Not a huge deal considering he still gets to discard, but it's better than it could have been. And he did not dredge, so he's really looking for the land. So the Stubborn Denial is going to hold him off getting that second land. But I'm attacking with Narcomoeba. We no longer have to worry about using the Fatal Push on it. We can save it for something later. The Surgical Extraction is phenomenal there. We actually may just end up wanting to take his Stinkweed Imp. We know he has one in the hand. He doesn't have any other dredgers in the graveyard. The flip side is we're in a strong position here to guess he has an amalgam. We could actually just straight up take the amalgam. But I guess we'd rather have him do the work. So even if he... Yeah, so he didn't do the stinkweed again. Alright, so we get the win here. Alright, so when did we lose that first game? Probably like turn 3. Turn 4. So being on the draw, we're definitely going to be a lot more dependent on... Going to be a lot more dependent on... drawing those or needing to draw those surgical extractions. We don't really need the hand disruption so much here. As he's putting the creatures in the graveyard that we want to surgically extract anyway. I feel like this is just way too slow of a hand. 2 removal does nothing for us. Right, this isn't... You don't look at this and see your path to victory. However, there's also questions on whether or not one can mulligan into a surgical extraction, and even count on 1 surgical extraction getting us there. I think the fact that we have Bauble and another draw by the time it's our turn again means we're going to have to give this one a shot. We have the ability to get our creatures big, or shadow big enough if necessary. Looks like our opponent's mulliganed at least once. Faithless looting, the ideal first draw. So he's got both of his guys out there. We're definitely really hoping to draw into a surgical extraction. We're even going to actually turn this on at upkeep, because on his upkeep, he's got an Archimeeba, but he's going to draw that. Green, blue. I think we're just going to have to hold this Fatal Push here. Or this fetch so that we can Fatal Push. Hope to draw a surgical extraction here. We don't. Insolent unit. Does not discard anything to dredge, however, which is good for us. Alright, so here comes the Bloodghast, and therefore here comes the prized amalgams. So, excuse me. Alright, sorry about that. Had a little bit of a cough. Yeah, so we want to do this. We're gonna kill one of these guys. And then we could crack a fetch. It would get down to 14. That's not going to be enough for traversing into another creature. So I think we actually let our opponent attack us, and then next turn we should be able to cast Death Shadow. The hope is to cast Death Shadow, traverse into potentially another one on top of the land we draw. We'll see how that goes. So if we can get a couple big Death Shadows down, we may be able to tie up the ground long enough to take the game back over. It's going to flash back a Faithless Looting here. Since we're looking for land and probably shocking upright. So the flip side of this, however, is Death Shadow will grow. Yeah, we definitely want to do the damage to ourselves here. So we're going for the yes. So we were going for the green source here with the blue, so that if we got another fetch, we could fetch for a swamp upright, which we're able to actually do here, thankfully. Fortunately, our traverse is less than ideal. Traverse is actually only giving us We got 3 card types. What are we missing? Sorcery. We could play a sorcery here, but it doesn't do us a whole lot of good. So I think what we're going to do, we're actually going to go for, I mean, he does have a Dredger here, but I think we're going to actually collect Brutality to gain 2 life. Hold on. Bloodghast can't attack whenever. Has haste as long as an opponent has 10 or less life. He may not have the ability. No, he's probably bringing it back. Scourge Devil, he can unearth it for 3 mana. I think we actually want to gain 2 life here, so I think we're going to go 2 life and actually I think we might just do 2 life. Kind of want to look at his hand in case he has the ability to feed, but since he already has Dredge 4 there, I don't know that it really matters. And part of the reason we're doing this, our Death Shadow is going to be a 3/3, which means it'll kill the prized Amalgam, but he's going to do enough damage to make Shadow big enough to live through the damage that Amalgam does back to us. Assuming he doesn't Scourge Devil this turn. No, I guess either way we're still good, because the damage Bloodghast will make Death Shadow big enough to survive the Amalgam damage, but Amalgam's power is the only thing getting increased, not the toughness. Gnaw to the bone? Please, for the love of God, gnaw to the bone. So opponent may not be aware of what's going to happen here. So while they're both going to do 3 damage to each other, since the damage is all simultaneous, the Bloodghast damage is actually going to grow the Death Shadow, and the Death Shadow is going to live. Surgical Extraction would be pretty good right here. We're going to have to traverse for another Death Shadow. There's really not a whole lot we can do here. Save. Suppose Architects of Will, Snapcaster Time. Yeah, there's nothing we can really do save Death Shadow. I'm gonna click next turn. Depending on how much damage he does to us this turn, I mean, it's feasible or technically possible Death Shadow could swing back for lethal. I just can't imagine he's going to get enough damage on board this turn to make it happen. But next turn we may be able to kind of work it out via, using Abrupt Decay to sneak the last bit of damage through. So what does he got here? If he plays a land, he's going to get Bloodghast. Oh yeah, this might happen. If he decides to attack in, considering that his does he have a cathartic? What do you call it? No conflagrates in the graveyard. His creatures can't block, so yeah. So we're actually going to Maelstrom Pulse. What do we got going on here? I mean, at this point, he's going to attack with everything, right? We could Maelstrom Pulse, but to what end? So let's think this through. He does have the ability to dredge one more time. He can play Scourge Devil to get +1 to all of his creatures. Unearth, I believe, comes with haste. So we're talking about 4 plus 9 is 13 plus 8, 21. We could get 2 of them, kill another. It's gonna be more than we can handle. So I think we have to Maelstrom Pulse, even if we hit a third creature out there to block all 3. Because we could Vendilion Click or Snapcaster Mage if we blocked all 3. Yeah, I guess we're taking 6 and then that's Crackback for lethal. So I think we're just gonna flip turn to him and hope he doesn't draw into like a Conflagrate off his Golgari Thug Dredge. Narcomoeba's fine. There's the Conflagrate, however. The hope here is that he goes with Scourge Devil. So if he goes with Scourge Devil, ideally he won't have the mana to cast Conflagrate. No, I did the math wrong. It doesn't matter because the Bloodghasts are big enough to kill us. God. Excuse me. Enters the battlefield, creatures get +1/0 until the end of turn. That's why I had to Maelstrom Pulse that turn, because of that. So we could... Oh no, but we can snap Fatal Push and live through this, actually. Wow. So we're gonna... So we're gonna kill the Amalgams. How much damage do we want to do to ourselves, though, here? If we let him put us... I mean, that's 11. Oh, it can't kill that. So if we take 7, that's more than we need to kill him. So I think we actually just block here. And then we're going to Fatal Push one of the Bloodghasts. We have Abrupt Decay to kill the Narcomoeba. So long as he doesn't have a red mana source to Conflagrate us. Whew! Look at this. This is some fun stuff right here. Through a Bone. Oh, what a fun win, because that is not a good matchup for us. Not in the slightest. Always feels good when you get those. Whew, so, wow, I think I'm terrible, per usual, at keeping this up, but 2-1, league status 1-1, and 3-3 in games. I think Dredge is going to start to experience a little bit of a surge or comeback personally. The deck is much better than people think. It's still extraordinarily explosive, and as the format starts to slow down and try and get bigger to beat the bigger stuff and be a little bit bigger, it's just going to start shredding again, which will not as strong as it was with Golgari Grave Troll, but still be pretty good. So make sure you bring your graveyard hate.